In 1982, tabletop role-playing games operated on a predictable rhythm. Players expected pulp fantasy, heroic action, simple dungeon crawls, and the immediate reward of gold for slaying monsters. Behind the scenes, Gary Gygax was growing frustrated. As the co-founder of TSR, the company behind Dungeons & Dragons, he saw his new adventures stalling for months in a maturing corporate bureaucracy. Gygax decided to bypass his own official channels. He assembled a local team of trusted creatives to design, map, and illustrate a new module entirely outside the standard corporate pipeline. This decentralized, off-the-books environment gave Gygax the freedom to build something that would challenge the industry's established heroic norms. The module was titled WG4, the Forgotten Temple of Tharizdun. On the surface, it looks like a standard high-level adventure, a long trek through the mountains ending at a massive inverted stone pyramid. The upper temple is a grueling tactical wargame. Players must fight through an organized army of humanoids who use the terrain to their advantage, rolling boulders and hurling oil from fortified positions. A player group could successfully clear this army, rescue the prisoners, take the treasure, and head home, believing they had finished the module. Gygax employed a philosophy of strategic patience here. He accepted that many players would miss the point of the module entirely, leaving half the content unplayed because they weren't curious enough to look closer. The combat at the surface was a decoy. Gygax hid the true nature of the adventure behind a secret door, tucked away in an obscure corner of the ruins. Crossing that threshold changes everything. The mundane military barracks are replaced by freezing obsidian ruins that descend hundreds of feet into the earth. Down here, the threat shifts. Success depends on navigating a slow, creeping psychological corruption. This diagram shows how Gygax breaks the traditional heroic loop. In most games, you kill to get loot and triumph. Here, the environment is so lethal that the loop is replaced by submission. Players must compromise themselves simply to survive. The module forces players into character pollution. To survive necrotic damage, they must wear the robes of the enemy cult. To navigate the dark, they must burn the cult's lightless incense and sound an unholy horn that signals their submission. By making these rituals a requirement for survival, the game turns the players into accomplices, stripping away their heroic identity as they delve deeper into the dark. The visual presentation was equally unsettling. Gygax used an external artist to produce a sickly lavender cover that eschewed heroic action, focusing instead on abstract, writhing shapes that suggest a sense of psychological rot. The tone was a sharp departure from standard fantasy. It leaned heavily into HP. Lovecraft's cosmic horror, emphasizing mortal insignificance against ancient, alien malevolence. The absence of corporate oversight also allowed for radical experimentation with the game's maps, handled by a teenage freelancer named Eric Shook. Shook's cartography emphasizes extreme verticality. Unlike typical horizontal dungeons, these maps use a network of hidden shafts to connect levels. This forces players to map in 3 dimensions, guessing chamber locations based on empty space above or below, creating constant navigational unease. These spatial puzzles and abstract art work together to make the physical game materials feel as hostile and disorienting as the ruins themselves. At the very bottom of the temple, 333 feet below the surface, is the Black Cyst, a chamber of absolute zero temperatures, housing the sleeping god of entropy, Tharizdun. After surviving the spiritual corruption and the freezing dark, players find a legendary hoard of 333 gems. But in a final nihilistic joke, they discover that time and previous looters have left only a handful of the stones with any actual value. Groups didn't walk away from this session feeling like triumphant heroes. They left feeling exhausted, as if they had barely escaped a brush with a metaphysical disease. This focus on atmospheric tension and high-difficulty survival proved to TSR that a market existed for mature horror. Within a year, the company greenlit the development of Ravenloft, utilizing the same sense of insurmountable evil that Gygax had tested here. The legacy of this rogue project is a shift in how designers approach player tension. It demonstrated that forcing a character to compromise their own morality can be more memorable than simply throwing a higher-level monster at them.